What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the LTQ Wrestling Podcast. I am BDJ. We got SummerSlam next weekend. I'll be doing predictions for that probably tomorrow as I'm recording with the crew. Hopefully everybody's here. But we had Saturday night's main event. And one of the big topics coming out of that show is whether that was it for Bayley and WWE. She got written off, it looked like. Her contract's up, I think, November, if I'm not mistaken. So it's getting close. And it's been talked about for a while how Bayley's going to be leaving WWE. They're like, this isn't a new topic where all of a sudden it popped up like, oh my goodness, is Bayley going to leave WWE? Is this it for her? Like, yes, it's looking more likely now, but it's been talked about for over a year. Like, really, since 2024, Bayley has not really been booked well in WWE. She's kind of been forgotten about. Like, she's kind of in that role now where they look at her like just a veteran to have on the roster, like a Natalia or somebody like that. Like, they don't really look at her as like a main event women's star anymore. And it's a shame because she's only 37. Like, most people would think Bayley's like in her 40s. She's only 37. And she still has a lot of years left in the business. She can still go at a high level. She showed in that match against Lyra Valkyrie. She can still go. And I think WWE is at a point now, whether you like it or not, this is how TKO thinks. If you're not a main event star who's getting older, making them a lot of money, they're not going to want to pay you a lot of money. And you can kick rocks. We saw it with New Day. Obviously, those guys are getting older. They saw, okay, we're not really using New Day. They're making a lot of money. You don't want this contract cut. You're out of here. Same with Sheamus. And Sheamus is 48, 11 years older than Bayley. They told him to kick rocks. If you don't want to take a pay cut, get out of here. It's different with Bayley, though, because they haven't offered to restructure her contract. Her contract's just expiring, and she's thinking about, heading to the exits. And obviously her and Mercedes Moné are very close. They've had a very tight friendship. We see them post about each other all the time on social media. That's reacting to each other's matches, their work, or, their match from NXT TakeOver a decade plus ago, which was still one of the best women's matches, if not the best women's match I've ever seen in my life. But, like, it's a very real possibility that Bayley's just going to decide to go to AEW, to try something new. Because sometimes you're in a company so long, it's like, what else can I do? Obviously, they don't really see me as a main star anymore. They don't really see me doing much here. Like, sometimes it's good to try something different. I know a lot of fans were PO'd that Mercedes decided to leave WWE, but again, she's in Bayley's situation. A little bit younger at the time, but, like, she's accomplished everything there is to do there. And I see some fans commenting, like, oh, Bayley hasn't done a lot as she should have in WWE. And you could argue that she's the least utilized of the four horsewomen between her, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. I could definitely agree with that. But I'm going to name off her resume. I'm going to show it on the screen for you guys. 4-time women's champion, Grand Slam champion, 2024 Royal Rumble winner, NXT women's champion, 2019 Miss Money in the Bank, and 2-time women's tag champions, both with Mercedes Moné. It's not like Bayley hasn't had a well of a career in WWE. Don't get it twisted. I understand recently bias that people think Bayley has not done much. Yes, she has not done much in the last 2 years. But before that, she was on a roll. One of the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champions. Her and Mercedes Moné during the COVID era were dominating our television screens, holding, singles championships and the tag team championships. Like, I understand Bayley now is in a spot where she's just not being utilized. I understand that. But for some fans to sit around and say she shouldn't be, leaving, or, she should try to stay and accomplish more, whatever people want to say, she's accomplished all there is to accomplish in this company at only 37. Like, realistically, is Bayley ever going to win a women's championship again if she re-signs with WWE? Probably not. Maybe she'll hold a tag team title again, but that's not irrelevant anymore. Royal Rumble? Probably not. Miss Money in the Bank? Probably not. Like, I think she's probably hit her peak in WWE, and she's looking at the landscape of AEW and thinking, okay, Toni Storm's gone. They could use another top woman there. Me and Mercedes obviously are very tight. We can make this work. We could maybe be a tag team. We could have a big feud and try to recreate our magic we had, a decade plus ago at TakeOver. I could go there and make a lot of money. Obviously, Tony Khan would offer the bricks truck at her. There's a lot of positives for her going to AEW. I get the criticism for AEW. The no selling. Tony Khan's booking can be all over the place. He's been trying to book, the women's division a lot better. He's been having the main event shows a lot more and stuff like that. But, like, I understand the frustration of some WWE fans thinking, oh, why would you want to leave? Or, but it's really not, to me, a difficult decision for her. You've hit the high peak in WWE. You've reached the top of the mountain. There's a lot of new women there that they're wanting to push. They got the Sol Rukas. They got the Rhea Ripley's, who's one of the top women now. There's more women above her on the food chain than there was 5 years ago. And WWE sees her as just a veteran who can help other people get over. And Bayley's young enough to probably think, like, you know what? I don't want to do this role. Like, I want to go out and still put on great matches and show I can still be a top women's star. And, she's younger than all, or not all, but two of the four horsewomen. She's younger than Becky and Charlotte, and they're still being put in main event positions. So she's probably looking at as well as like, okay, they just don't see me as a main event woman here. And that's fine. WWE has tons of talent. This ain't a knock on Bayley, but Bayley walks out that door tomorrow, WWE's wheels is going to keep on turning. That's just how the business works. They got tons of women in that locker room who could easily replace, Bayley's spot right now. And that's not a knock on Bayley. That's just how WWE views her at this point. If she goes to AEW, she'll have a bigger role than what she will have in WWE at any time in the future. That's just the reality. You could say it's because the women's roster is less talented in AEW or because of friendship with Mercedes, backstage politics, whatever. It's just the truth. She'll have a bigger role in AEW. She'll be more relevant. She'll probably make more money. She'll have better matches. She'll be probably the top four biggest women's stars in that company. So why not? Why not try something different? WWE is not the end all be all for everybody. I get it. There's a lot of veterans who are leaving that company that you thought were going to be WWE lifers. I thought Sheamus was going to be a WWE lifer. I thought New Day were going to be WWE lifers for the rest of their careers. Unfortunately, they got a new regime who don't see it that way. It's just like if a new owner takes over a sports team, right? And everybody on the team was from the previous regime, or a general manager takes over and they're, looking at the roster. Not to bring NBA too much in this, but it's like my Chicago Bulls. They have a new front office. They didn't draft or sign any of these players besides the current draft. So they have no attachment. TKO doesn't have any attachment to any of these talents. Unless you're making them boatloads of money where they just have to keep you around, they don't give a damn about you. You're just a person they can replace with somebody in NXT in a heartbeat. It's unfortunate. It sucks. I don't agree with it. But that's just how the business side works in sports and business and movies and TV shows. We've seen it with TV shows and movies. If somebody leaves, most times get another actor in and replace them. The show might fall off a little bit. That's just the reality. That's just what we see. So, unfortunately, that's what's happened with Bayley. And I've always been a huge fan of Bayley's work. Like, her in NXT was on a different level. And I get why she wanted to get rid of the hugger gimmick. I don't think she's ever going to bring that back. I believe she said that in interviews. Like, she just don't really want to bring that gimmick back. She feels like, it was kind of beneath her or something. She said something like she just didn't really like doing the gimmick. And, I think heel Bayley's actually pretty good. When she was women's champion, she was a heel with Mercedes. It was actually some pretty good television. I know not everybody was a fan of that. But like, it's just something new for her to do going to AEW. And I don't blame talents for wanting to get out of WWE that are kind of hitting their peak, who have been there a while, feel like they should be making more money, whatever the case should be. It's just at that point with Bayley, like, she's hit the crossroads in WWE that a lot of wrestlers hit, where it's just like, okay, what's next for me? And honestly, if Bayley walked into the room with Triple H and the regime and the creative and asked what's next for me, I don't even think they could give her a realistic answer. They might just lie and say, "Oh, we see you as a top star still, and we will book you better and all that." Just give them the fine little speech to get them to resign. But deep down, they don't know what to do with Bayley at this point because she's done everything, and they have other women they're prioritizing right now. And AEW will prioritize her very much with her being up there with Mercedes Moné as the top woman star in that company. So to me, I think Bayley's going to head to AEW. I think it's a no-brainer. If she resigns with WWE, I would be shocked. Like, I would honestly be shocked. Unless she just loves her spot there and likes the locker room or whatever, and she was just lying in interviews, I would be shocked. I compare this to the Ricochet situation, right? Where Ricochet was pretty much making it known he wasn't going to resign. They kept tossing contracts at him. He wasn't re-signing. It was just kind of like, okay, this guy's not going to be around any much longer. Let's have Braun Breaker destroy him into a car shield and write him off TV. That's kind of what they did with Bayley. So it's kind of the same situation. Obviously, Ricochet wasn't as big of a star as Bayley was in WWE, but it's the same type of circumstance where they were both just kind of over their time there and ready to move on. So all in all, I think that Bayley is headed to AEW. I think it's the right decision for her in her career. I don't see re-signing with WWE being the best option for her. And, I think she would talk about wanting to open up a wrestling school if she don't have one already. Maybe she wants to focus on that. And AEW, too, like, she could have a way lighter schedule. She probably wants to be working more, but she don't have to work 2 days a week. Obviously, WWE got rid of live events as well, so their schedule isn't as hectic either. But, like, you get to go do other things in AEW. If you want to do Twitch, you can do Twitch. If you want to go wrestle indies, you can do that. If you want to go to certain companies, you can do that. It just gives you more opportunity. Maybe she wants to go back. I don't think she ever was on the indies, but maybe she wants to go try the indies for a while and just see what it's like outside of the WWE bubble. That's what a lot of wrestlers have talked about. You're kind of in that bubble where you're just going through the motions of just like, yeah, week to week, it is what it is. And I think Bayley probably wants to just try something different in her career and see what's out there. So that's my thoughts on Bayley potentially even WWE. I think it's more than a going conclusion that she's going to leave. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Bayley's head out of WWE? Do you think she's going to re-sign? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to check out my gaming content. I've been uploading some MLB The Show content. Just did the Minnesota Twins if you like baseball. NBA 2K27's right around the corner. GTA is right around the corner. They released Black Ops 1 and 2 back on PS or PlayStation. So that's interesting as well. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Check us out on Spotify. If you guys want to join our memberships, we have exclusive content going to be coming out as soon as we get that going. So make sure to check that out as well. Appreciate the support. Peace.